been so long, we know.
I know, it's been, I don't know, over a month, something like that, since we did an actual live video.
I think it may even have been 2. I know we've been putting out some videos that are little snippets from some of our online classes, which we've had lots of lovely feedback on. I know some of you have found those really useful. But us live in the flesh has been ages, really ages.
We just haven't really been, I don't know, we kind of went into this kind of lull, this kind of lockdown lull.
Yeah.
And it's really difficult. I find it difficult to kind of concentrate on things which we wouldn't normally do.
Yeah.
I want us to produce our normal content, and it's just tricky. So it's getting easier now.
Well, to be perfectly honest, there's no excuse, because the time that we could have been filming, we have been allowed to be together.
Yes.
We're now sat in my bedroom.
We are bubbling.
So yes, we are bubbling, and so we have been able to film.
Yes.
We just haven't, and
No.
and I think that the world is upside down, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's a weird time for lots of us. And I think you have to put your mental health first, and you have to do what's right for you. And we've both gone into kind of like hibernation, like family mode, haven't we?
I thought about it yesterday, because I posted on Instagram for the first time in ages yesterday. I mean, in like 3 months yesterday. And I was going to say, I was thinking about it, and I found that instead of thinking externally, I'm thinking more internally. So I'm thinking about me personally, I'm thinking about my family, I'm thinking about the house. I'm not really thinking about
what's happening in the
rest of the world. And maybe it's because there's too much happening in the rest of the world. It's
agree.
too overwhelming.
It's a coping mechanism.
It is.
But if what's happening in the rest of the world is quite scary, if you just focus on what's happening within your little bubble, and what's happening with your immediate family, and you know, it's comforting.
Feels
isn't
safer.
It feels safer.
Yeah.
But we are very aware that there is a big wide world out there, and and we know that lots of you kind of rely on our videos to help you feel connected. So we apologise if we've left you hanging. I hope you can appreciate that sometimes you do have to put yourself first. You do have to put your family first. But we just thought that we would do a quick catch up. And if you haven't figured it out yet, this is going to be a very casual, unedited catch up.
Rough and ready.
Unless we say anything really, really stupid, have to be really stupid.
Yes.
We're not going to edit anything out, and this could be quite a long, rambly one, because
who knows?
It's been a while.
We've not planned it.
No, we've had no discussion about it at all.
In fact, we even forgot, Rachel forgot to charge the camera.
Yeah.
So there was absolutely no charge on the camera. So we're back to the good old phone, I'm afraid.
Yes,
so
exactly.
It's like the old days.
Yes, it is. So if you haven't as yet, then maybe pause, go and make yourself your own coffee or cocktail or whatever, depending on where you are in the world, whatever you fancy. Make yourself a beverage and settle in, so we can have a nice long natter. So,
yes,
what do we think is the most relevant things to be telling people? Let's just put anything work related on hold for now, and let's just talk about what's been going on in our world. Maybe I should address this first of all. So, so as you can see, I'll come a bit closer so you can definitely see. The grey is there still. Now, I've been dyeing my own hair for years, so this is a choice. It wasn't because I couldn't get to the hairdressers. But I decided at the start of lockdown, let's just see what happens if I don't dye it.
And this was really early on. This was within 2 or 3 days of lockdown. You went, right, this is the opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. And I've just decided that I am going to embrace the grey, and what I'm going to work towards is growing it out completely so that my hair is mainly grey. Yeah. Or silver.
The natural colour that it is.
The natural colour that it is, yes. And so basically I've had it cut a little bit shorter, just to help that grow out a bit quicker. I wanted to go shorter still, but I wasn't quite brave enough.
I really like the choppy shortness of it. I really like that cut style on you, that length as well.
What I wanted is I thought that if I'm allowing myself to go grey, I need more of an edgy hairstyle so that people... or more modern hairstyle, so that people know it's intentional. Like, you know, I wouldn't have a nice hairstyle and then be grey. I don't want people to think I've just let myself go and that I've just given up and decided not to bother anymore. So I wanted it to look intentional.
I think you need a badge, and I think, you know, when
I know my hair is grey.
I know my hair is grey. This is intentional. I can't get to the hairdressers. Don't worry. You know, I'm not having a breakdown kind of thing on a badge.
Well, having had a couple of people say to me, "Oh, you need the hairdresser," then obviously honestly,
Not me.
I feel like I need to have some way of going, no, I want it this way. But what I am doing in a couple of weeks is my hairdresser's coming to put some highlights through. So silver toned highlights.
Yes.
Which is just going to help break up that kind of stripe of silver that comes into the brown. And just kind of make it a little bit, it will make more it lighter, and so I can start getting used to that kind of lighter shade, but it just means that it'll be ready then. Will you go shorter
again? Is she going to cut it, or are you just going to leave the length?
Yeah, well, I don't know, she did only cut it a couple of weeks ago, so I think I might, I don't know, maybe I will get her to cut it as well.
Just take another inch off
or
something.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, but yes, so that's I know hair is not the most important thing happening right now.
Hair is quite important,
but I think sometimes what I've been missing anyway is girly talks about just and stuff. You know, we're not having big conversations about the world, but just little things.
I found myself having those conversations with my husband and my children, which is very amusing. I kind of say, you know, I had a shower this morning and I took some time to moisturise and I painted my nails, and my husband's looking at me like, you know, are we getting to a point at some point? You know, why are you telling me this information? You know, but you know, they are. I think everybody is getting used to spending so much time with each other. So actually, he is more considerate than he probably would have been 6 months ago of that situation kind of thing. So things do change.
My husband has always been used to TMI when it comes to me, because I am one of those people that if it's in my head, it's out of my mouth. There's literally no filter. No. And whatever's on my mind, I just find myself saying. So he gets all the gory details about everything, all sorts of female issues that most men would not want to hear about. He's very good about it though. He does feign interest. At least doesn't prevent me from talking about it. But I have definitely taken it to a whole new level.
Is that because you've not had me around?
Well, I think it's eased off a bit now. We can see each other again. But there was definitely a couple of months where I could even hear it as I was saying it. I was thinking,
why are you
this is not healthy for your relationship. You shouldn't be sharing this much. Every woman needs her secrets.
Absolutely. But of course, you know, in the beginning, we were, even just prior to lockdown, we were spending every day together. We'd spend maybe at least 4 or 5 hours a day together every day. Yeah. And then to suddenly go to no contact whatsoever. I mean, we were speaking on the phone, but that would be, you know, half an hour a day, maybe maximum. It is quite a big chunk of your life which you've taken away.
Yeah, it is. And I think what it's done is it's made you really consider your relationships. I think that, you know how they say absence makes the heart grow fonder, and I think sometimes when you need to step back from anything, you have lots of time to kind of analyse it and kind of reassess things. And I think you know, back when it was all very, very strange and we couldn't do anything, all you kept thinking about was the people you couldn't wait to hug. Yes. And then you know they're the most important people to you. Because if they're the ones you can't wait to hug, then obviously
people you really miss.
Special.
Yeah, exactly. Did that include me?
No. Oh, of course it did. You got my first hug outside of my immediate family. So, another weird thing that happened is we both had our birthdays.
We did.
Lockdown.
I'm sure there's been a lot of birthdays in lockdown, but so my entire family had lockdown birthdays.
Yeah.
And
because your entire family all happened within a month,
within 3 weeks of each other. So it's quite easy to do. But we did have lockdown birthdays. Yeah. Which was quite nice. I had a really lovely birthday this year. I just felt like it was just, I don't know. It felt like it was exactly what I wanted it to be. Yeah. And it wasn't.
We came over for socially distanced drinks.
Drinkies.
Yes. And you did the same on my birthday. Yeah. But that was it.
Yeah, and it was just nice. It was just chilled. Is what it felt like. Yeah. It was quite nice.
But it was weird because we usually make a big thing of our birthday week or weekend because they are 3 days apart. Yes. Then we often kind of plan. And we've got into the habit of, instead of buying gifts,
we do a big
doing
thing.
Some sort of experience. So we might go away for the weekend, or you know, go and do something together. And obviously we weren't able to do that this year. So I feel like we've got one of those owed to us. So once we're able to, although we were supposed to have a girls' weekend, weren't we? With our friends Deb and Laura, the 4 of us had booked an Airbnb in the country. I know we live in the countryside, but this was deeper in the countryside. Yes. And it was a little country cottage, and we were just gonna walk in the day and drink wine in the evening
and chat constantly. Yeah. Yeah. And it would have been lovely.
We could probably book that again now. It's just now obviously people don't want to travel abroad, but things have opened up, then it means that everything UK based is fully booked and extortionate. So I don't know if that's the same all the way around the world, but
I'm not in any rush, to be honest. I mean, we've seen our friends, so we can still see them and catch up and things like that now, but I'm not in any rush, I think, to go away. I think I'd rather wait until maybe after Christmas.
Although we did go away.
When?
To the yurts.
Oh yes, we went away
for a little mini holiday.
We had a little mini 4-day break. So we all our holidays have been cancelled.
Yes.
And so we decided at the beginning of the kids' school holidays we'd just take 3 or 4 days
Tell
away.
them your holidays that were cancelled, because ours was just our normal 2-week holiday in Crete. But you had 2 very special trips planned, didn't you?
It's a very special year this year. My husband and I have been married for 25 years, so it's a big old year. And we really wanted to celebrate it. And so the kids had been offered a week-long, sort of 5 days trip to Paris just before their birthday in June. So we booked them for that. And because I've got twins, that meant that they would have been gone. It would just be me and my husband. So we decided to take advantage of this and book ourselves a sort of romantic 4-day getaway. And we decided to go to Morocco, because we've never been to Morocco, we've never been to Africa, that kind of, all that sort of side. And so we thought it would just be fantastic. So we booked this exquisite hotel in the middle of the Medina, and all the flights were booked, and we were so looking forward to it. And then the summer holiday, we've been waiting for a few years to go to America, and so decided this year was the year to go. And in the end, we booked a 3-week holiday, basically recreating our honeymoon, which was just coincidental because we wanted to go to San Francisco and to Los Angeles, taking the kids to Disney before they get too old, that kind of thing. So we had a 3-week trip recreating our honeymoon in our 25th year of our wedding.
Road trip in
an open-top Mustang, 5-star hotels the whole way. We were properly throwing everything at it as a kind of, before the kids get too old and don't really appreciate coming with us. And my kids are really good kind of travellers. They're really good with that kind of thing. And everything got cancelled.
Yeah.
So we had 4 days in a yurt in Somerset. As lovely as it was.
Yeah, but it wasn't kind of what you had in mind, was it?
Wasn't. And I did have real kind of like about 3 or 4 days before we went away. I was really like kind of mourning the holidays that we didn't have.
Yeah. I'm sure you all are, and we'd love to hear in the comments below kind of what special events and trips and things.
But there's been weddings cancelled.
Yeah, see, that's even more important, to be honest.
Yeah.
Regardless, I kind of didn't elope, but I got married overseas, just us and 2 friends, and it was very low-key affair, but there was still a lot of planning that went into it.
Yes.
But your average wedding at home, it takes months, years of planning for some people, and the amount of money that gets spent on them, and the idea that all the stress involved with getting to that point and then having to cancel, postpone, I can only imagine how awful that
everything
must be.
printed with a date on, and everything is just all of those just simple things like that has all got to be changed, and also the uncertainty about whether it can even happen. At the moment it can't happen. It can happen, but you can't have any more than 6 people there or something like that.
In the UK they were about to increase it to weddings that have 30 guests, or groups of 30, but they've had to postpone that because the infection rate's on the increase again. So I think that's the thing that's quite hard, is that when we were right in the heart of lockdown, you kind of got used to the fact that you only go out to the supermarket or the chemist or whatever when you really need to. And we've got it down to maybe once every 10 days or something like that. And then, you just kind of stay in your little bubble. You go for your hours-long walk every day. And it was very simple. We knew what to do. And you kind of almost, yes, it was frustrating, but you almost adjust to it. And that becomes the new normal.
Because that's what's expected of you. That was what you were supposed to do. So I think it was easy to follow those rules because they were very simple. You had to stay at home as much as possible. And you had to work from home. You had to do all those things. And so it was very simple. It's much more complicated now.
Well, it is. And I think that now things have started to open up, we're all in kind of different places, really, aren't we? Because on the one hand, you want to try new things, you want to go and live a more full life, but on the other hand you're still a bit wary. And the rules keep changing, and so we got to the point where things were probably as loose as they were going to get, and you know, the pubs and the restaurants had opened again, and schools seemed set to open again, and now obviously with the infection rate increasing again, and they're starting to think about reining that back in, or at least not going to the next phase of opening things up. And then it makes you think, okay, so this second wave is potentially going to happen sooner, and we might be back to that kind of beginning of doing very
lockdown
little
again.
And so it's kind of like not knowing whether you're coming or going. You can't get excited about things improving because you keep being reminded that it's baby steps and they can go backwards.
Well, I had booked myself a facial. I felt like I just needed a little bit of me time, a bit of out of the house pampering, something like that, and I booked it, and then it's been taken away again, so it's been cancelled with no we've got no idea when that will be reintroduced again. So I'm kind of on hold, so I'm sure there's lots of things like that have been sort of planned and then had to be pulled back again. But then, you know, I think we are all quite cautious as well. I don't think we're booking a lot of things. We're not making an awful lot of plans. It's kind of just,
which again is like really sad for the hospitality industry and for people who it's the small businesses that I really feel for, who have just been hanging on waiting for being able to reopen, and now, you know, obviously fewer people are booking and going out and doing those kind of things, and then there's this threat that it might get shut down again, and it's like trying to make most of this little window that you've got, just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it must be really, really scary and hard for lots of people, and it makes me and us feel really grateful because our business has been COVID proof, really.
Thank the Lord.
And there've been more people wanting to learn to sew than ever before. And we just feel really, really lucky. We've not been able to make new content, but the older content is been reaching more and more people. And so we just feel really, really grateful. But at the same time, your heart goes out to all those people who, you know, it's much more complicated, and all those people that have lost their jobs, all those people who aren't quite sure if they're self-employed, how much business is going to come in, how long it's going to take them to get back to normal.
Or people waiting to hear whether they're going to be made redundant as well. There's a lot of redundancies happening in the UK and stuff as well. And it's all that uncertainty, I think, that people are struggling with more than anything, and I think that's the thing that takes its biggest toll on your mental health. So that's the next question then. What have you been doing? What have you been doing? What have we all been doing to kind of preserve our mental health? Because that's the most important thing right now, isn't it? We've been avoiding social media. Yes, that's definitely been, but that for me again, it's been an inward thing. I've been looking at like just worrying about the most important things to me, so about my family, my extended family, that kind of thing. I've been doing a lot of stuff in the house, which I know you've been doing as well, so that's kind of kept me mentally busy. But actually I've really enjoyed spending so much time with my family, which has surprised me. You know, but I think that we have come out the other side of lockdown stronger than we went in, which is great. I feel like my husband and I are not much closer, but we're a lot closer than we were, even though we were close beforehand, if that makes any sense.
It totally does.
Taken it to a new level, and the kids have loved being at home. The dogs love it. Clearly the dog is loving lockdown. She's very sad this morning, actually. My husband had actually gone away on business for a couple of days, which is the first time since the beginning of March that he's been away, and so she's lying around looking like a little sad lost soul this morning. She doesn't really know what's happening. He's suddenly gone. So it's so I've been doing that, but also being very aware of your own mental health and taking time, and sometimes just taking time out. Sometimes just taking yourself off. I've been doing things like exercising a lot, which very much helps my mental health, and just listening to music and keeping myself podcast and keeping myself busy and things like that. So there has been lots of that.
So shall we see if we can think of some recommendations? So music, let's think. I am absolutely loving the new Leanne Havas album, which is absolutely brilliant. In fact, she's never produced a bad album. She's one of my husband and my favourites. So he bought her on vinyl, because one of the big things that we changed was we redecorated the lounge, but my husband had a little man cave, and it used to get used more as a dumping ground, and so he would very rarely spend any time in it, and it was kind of that catch-22. The less time he spent on it, the more stuff got dumped in there, the more stuff got dumped in there, the less time he spent on it. So we moved his record decks into the lounge, and so now we're listening to music a lot more, and he's listening to vinyl a lot more, which is lovely. But it was really interesting, because now our favourite new albums and stuff we're buying on vinyl, and instead of just download or whatever. So that's quite a nice thing. So I can definitely recommend Leanne Havas. I also as a TV recommendation, but then also music, on the BBC has been a programme called Mrs. America, which is about the not civil rights, it's about the equal opportunities, the equal rights amendment in America, and it's got an amazing cast, but it features some amazing women,
music as well,
and the soundtrack is fantastic. So I have been binge listening to the Mrs. America soundtrack on Spotify.
I challenged Rachel to come up with a top 20, her top 20 songs.
Oh, I didn't know there was a limit to it. I'm well over 20.
Oh, no, there was only 20.
She just did a playlist. I didn't know there was a number.
There was 20. So you can give it to me now if you can choose. You have to choose 20. Right. But that has been really good. I'm not someone who is a big lover of music. I love music, but it's not a big part of my day to day. And so actually physically making this playlist of my top 20 songs was really good for my soul for a little bit, and I am finding that I listen to it quite a lot as well.
We've not played them to each other yet.
No, it's
because I've not finished mine. So and it probably is twice as long as it needs to be.
That's okay.
I will whittle it down. But what we thought would be fun, it was Nikki's idea, and I thought it was a brilliant one. She just said, we know each other so well, but we don't know each other musically.
No.
So we don't listen to music together very often. And
it's because we're too busy chatting.
Yeah. And music's maybe a bigger part of my life than it is of yours day to day. But yeah, I thought it was a really nice idea, because I think knowing what music someone likes really does give you an insight.
Yeah.
But I took a very different approach to it, and I ended up basically creating the soundtrack to my life. So it started with the very first song that I could remember, and then kind of gone through all of the significant moments of my life and kind of what the music was then. So it was almost like a desert island discs type approach to it. But now there's way too many. But we thought what we'd do is we'd sit down
and listen to
one night. We'd have a couple of drinks, and we would play each other one song at a time, and kind of explain the significance and sort of,
and talk through it.
So I'm really looking forward to doing that one night. That's going to be really fun.
My only the only sort of criteria I put on it from myself is it has to make me smile within the first 3 bars. And if it doesn't do that, then it's not good enough.
Yeah.
So it has to be one of those songs that you go, oh, love this song, kind of, and that was my criteria. So I got 20.
Has to be one of those songs that if you were out and about, like the way you used to go out in your 20s, it came on, you go, hey!
This is brilliant.
Or start making your way to the dance floor.
Yes.
So what about TV? I've mentioned Mrs. America, but what else have you been loving?
We've been, my husband and I have been watching a lot of documentaries. So it's nothing in particular that I can, actually the Hillary Clinton one is brilliant. Yeah. So there's one called Hillary on Sky documentaries, or it's also on Now TV, and it's a 5-part documentary. And actually I was thinking this morning, I want to watch it again, because it is so good and really good for sort of women's empowerment as well, because it tells a lot about her history, and she was very vocal in the women's movement and stuff like that as well. And it gives, I think it shows the side of her that we probably don't know. you know, she's a very clever woman. She's very politically clever woman, but she's socially conscious as well.
Yeah.
And I got a lot more respect from her actually by watching it to the end. I've
Yes,
heard the
I've
Michelle
put it on my
Obama
list
one is very good as well.
Yeah, we've watched that one.
Oh right, I've not
but
watched it yet.
I haven't watched the Hillary one yet. So
Yeah.
on your recommendation, we definitely plan to see that.
And you still need to watch the Trump one, just because it will make you punch the television. Because
I've watched a couple of other Trump ones. I haven't watched that one. That's the one about the
on
history
Netflix. The history of him, which is really fascinating again, because a lot of his history is when I was too young to kind of know. It's all back in the 70s and early 80s and things like that. So it's talking about the stuff that you don't really know and how he became the man he is, kind of thing. So I'm really into politics and stuff like that at the minute. I'm
obsessed with the
American election.
And I think maybe it's just nice to have something else to obsess about other than COVID.
Well, if you're interested in that, there's a really good podcast as well, called Americast.
Right.
And that is with John Sopels, who's a BBC Washington correspondent, and Emily, I can't remember her name. Anyways, it's a female BBC producer. The one who did the interview with Prince Andrew.
Oh, yes, I know. I can't remember her name, but I know who you're talking about.
I'll link it underneath. But and they do a weekly podcast on just purely on the American election. Yes. And so it's really interesting. They cover what's happened in the last week, and you can already sense like the build up. They keep saying how many weeks it is until September 3rd, and it's just going to get more and more exciting, I think. So that's definitely worth a listen.
Yes, yeah, for sure. I will add that to my list. The other significant thing that's happened during lockdown or during COVID, which is political as well as social, is obviously Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
And that's been an interesting time because there's been so much happening.
Yeah.
And it's been so difficult to I don't know, to kind of keep abreast of everything and it works. There's so much going on in every different pocket of every country and every city. It's different. So there's been a lot happening in Bristol. So I'm sure you've heard about the Colston statue ending up in the river. The awful hit and run that happened last week, which is really terrible. We went from being really proud of our city to really disappointed in it. And so we took an opportunity to kind of educate ourselves. There's not a lot we can do from a business point of view. I know there's been lots of businesses that have decided to take action and to come up with a plan and to try and, especially Black Makers Matter, which is something, if you don't follow on Instagram, you can definitely go and do, but just kind of showcasing people of colour in our community, within the sewing community. Now, because we film our classes and they are just us, and our Instagram feeds are just us, we're not using other people, we're not using
it is just you
people
and me
as models and that sort of thing. And we don't have enough people sharing things like, so for instance, if you've taken an overlocker class, it's a picture of your overlocker, so it's not necessarily you in the picture. So we don't have really a way that we ourselves can represent people of colour better, or at least not that we can think of. Obviously, if anybody's got any suggestions, we would definitely be open to.
We're definitely so I'm doing a lot of stuff on the blog at the moment, so I'm writing lots of blog posts, and I'm trying to be conscious to kind of sort of show every side of humanity when you're sharing pictures. So I'm trying to make sure that we've got people of colour, we've got people of larger sizes, smaller sizes, we've got all ages. We're just kind of covering everything to kind of make it more.
We've always done that, but I think it doesn't hurt to
be conscious
make a conscious effort, and just to go back and sanity check it afterwards and just think, have I missed anything? But yeah, so really we just educated ourselves. So on a book recommendation, I read a really, really good book. I'm going to struggle to remember the author now. But it's Why I'm Not Talking to White People About Race Anymore.
Yeah, okay.
I'll link it below. But the reason I really enjoyed that book in particular was because it's written by a British author, and it focuses on British Black history, and that's something that I'd never really considered, because when you think of the civil rights movement and when you think of Black history, you immediately think of American history.
Yes.
And it was really, really interesting to read all these stories of similar moments that have happened, not just in Britain, but in Bristol, in the city where we live as well. Yes. So we had our own kind of Rosa Parks situation, which was to do with bus drivers in Bristol, and there was a boycott and a big protest and stuff around a guy who was basically refused, wasn't allowed to be a bus driver, and was being discriminated against on the basis of colour. So it's been really interesting to find out about those kind of things, and I think that kind of the main thing that it's done is make me much more aware of those subtle prejudices that you might not even know that you have. No. And I think we could all do with sometimes looking internally and just checking ourselves and just
educating
making sure
yourself is the best way to do it.
Yeah,
really, isn't
absolutely.
It?
So
there are lots of, I've watched quite a few documentaries, none of which I can remember the name of, but there's lots on Netflix and on the BBC. Yeah. And they're in separate sections now, so you can kind of go and they're all gathered together to make it easy for you to find them. So that's definitely a good place to start looking. Yeah. And it does. It's surprising. The history that you don't know is amazing. Exactly.
And I think other than that, and kind of challenging people that have views that they shouldn't have. Yeah. And just kind of in your own personal life, when sometimes it's easy to just, for older members of the family, just to kind of make excuses for things and go, oh well, it's a different generation. Yeah. But that's something that I definitely wouldn't do anymore. And I would definitely challenge people and make sure that they know that if they've said something that is even slightly unacceptable, that they're not allowed to say that. And explain to them why, and not kind of see it as a lost cause, but still make the effort. And I think that as long as you're making all of the effort that you can, we were very conscious of the fact that at the time there was a lot of people creating a lot of content on social media around it, and it's just not something that we felt that we needed to do. No. We are two white, middle-class, middle-aged women
in the countryside,
and we just didn't feel like our voices had anything constructive to add.
There was more people who had more relevance to the situation and could express it in a way that we just couldn't.
Yeah, and I think that it was an opportunity to give people who should have the platform and should have centre
give
stage,
them the space,
give them their voice. Yeah. But we only mention it now because we didn't want anybody thinking that we that we were ignoring it, that we felt like it wasn't relevant to us in any way. It was something that we did take some time to really consider if there was more that we could do, and to educate ourselves and those around us. But yeah, if you've got any other suggestions of what you think we could be doing more, then we'll definitely take that on board. So that's all the serious stuff, political stuff, and just trying to think what else we might be able to share with everybody.
Well, I've been doing quite a lot of exciting things recently.
Oh yes, tell us all.
Well, just before COVID, just before lockdown, we had a minor flood in our house. So my house has a large basement underneath the house. It used to be the water tank for the village, so it's like a whole extra floor rather than a small basement. It's sort of 8 foot tall ceilings and this round brick-lined tank that the house is built on top of.
It's literally like nothing you've ever seen.
It's like nothing you've ever seen. We have talked about doing a house tour video, so if you would like that, one from each of us, then we'll maybe do that sometime soon as well. But we had a small flood, and so there was water coming through the ceiling in sort of half of the basement. So we fixed that, and then it meant that we had to redecorate. So it meant moving things around and kind of replanning. So, and of course, I think COVID has made everybody do that as well. Make their home.
You're spending so much time in your home.
Make them work better for the whole family. So, in the end, what's happened is there's a room down there that my kids used to use as a sort of TV games room. They've now moved into a bigger space, and I have got this room for my sewing room. So what happened during COVID is that I was in the dining room. It was always the dining room, but I sewed in there. And then my husband worked from home, so I got kicked off into the kitchen table, which just didn't work because it meant we had nowhere to eat at all. My sewing machines were always out. I had nothing. It was always a mess. And so actually this is the best thing. So I, over the last couple of weeks, have been planning and painting and new carpets. And so the new sewing room is getting there.
Nikki does not hang about, so literally she had the idea maybe 10 days ago.
Yeah, maximum.
And in that time she's had electricians in, she's had someone in to drop the ceiling, she's having like proper lighting put in, new carpets, walls painted,
been to IKEA
and bought all the furniture. She's built half of it, and she's been spray painting things rainbow colours, and it's literally happened in the space of 10 days. So sometimes you make my head spin. It's just like, it just, you have an idea and then it's just happening.
It just happens.
So there's no time to like think about it. And, it's just like, right, doing it now.
Yeah, I've waited long enough.
I'm really excited for you. And her excitement is, she might be playing it down slightly, but she has been ridiculously excited.
I am. I've been dreaming about it in the middle.
Sleepless
nights, dreaming about putting IKEA furniture together and dreaming about moving the furniture around in my room and things like that. So it's very exciting. It just feels that I've been sewing for, I don't know, 12 years, 10, 12 years, something like that. And I've never had a dedicated space. I've always had a space that had to be something else at different times. Or was kind of used by other people as well. So this is mine, and it's only mine, and I will have a door on it that can be closed, and I don't care what mess it's in. It's my mess, and it can just stay there. And also because it's in the basement, I don't have to see it if I don't want to.
No.
I can close the door and it's in a completely different floor.
Yes.
So once it's finished, I will definitely do a YouTube video, and I'll do pictures and a blog post and all the things
that I've seen her buy and create, and it's going to be a stunning room. It's going to be amazing.
I hope so.
I can't wait to see it. It's almost like, I know you want my help putting things up and that sort of thing. Because I'm quite handy with a drill.
I'm not that handy with a drill.
But I feel a bit like I somehow want you to figure all that stuff out, so I get to have a big reveal. I want to come in and see it all done, but that's selfish. I've been watching too many home programs that I kind of want to just see the
before and after.
Come in and go,
well, you can show me how to use the drill and I'll do it myself.
No, that's fine. I will come and help you.
I mean, you have shown me before. It's only because it's I've not done it that often.
Yeah, and also it's often different walls. You don't know kind of what they're made of, what you're going to find when you start drilling. Sometimes they just start crumbling away, and you have to kind of figure out what to do at that point. And
probably solid
sometimes
concrete
you need different kinds of raw plugs depending on how thick the wall is or what's behind it and whatever else. So we'll figure it out together. But I will teach you as we go, and
fabulous.
Then you'll be self-sufficient.
Do it myself. So it's all very exciting.
Yes,
so
it is very exciting. So speaking of sewing, we have been doing some sewing. It's kind of been on and off. So I've had moments where I've been getting loads done, and then there've been other moments when very little has been done.
Yes.
And we haven't. Well, I haven't been really sharing anything on Instagram either, which is usually where I kind of share my sewing makes. So I'm sure we will get round to showing you all of those things at some point. But they're, because they're independent things, they're not necessarily pattern reviews or anything like that.
What are you wearing today? So you can show
I'm just wearing. I made them at the start. I'll stand up so you can see. I made them at the start of lockdown. They were Portobello trousers, Nina Lee Portobello trousers. But then I made the Mimi G tracksuit top out of the leftover fabrics, and because it's kind of colour blocked, and I decided that I would get more wear out of these if they were tracksuit bottoms. So I basically took them apart at the side, added my Go Faster stripes, and then cut a new waistband so that I could do this is one of those waistbands where you've got 2 rows of thin elastic and then a channel for cord.
Nice.
But I think that's quite important to making them feel like tracksuit bottoms. So and I have been getting more wear out of them that way. I guess because I'm more in a kind of casual. I love the idea of the jersey stretch versions of Portobello trousers. You had a pair on yesterday. But the only thing is, I kind of feel like it feels casual but looks smart, so it's like secret pajamas. Whereas what I've been really wanting is just casual, just the comfort, just the casual, and I want it to look casual as well. So I did that with these and the yellow ones that I made. So now my tracksuit top has 2 different
bottoms. Lovely.
And then this is a t-shirt that I did a while ago, but this is I don't know if you remember, but during Vlogmas we did a heat transfer.
Oh yes, from my sweatshirt.
Yeah, so this is basically heat transfer that I just put on a simple men's.
It's lasted really, but I say it's
been washed loads.
Yeah, you've worn it loads. Yeah. So they do last, and it's a t-shirt.
I think I paid 99p for the transfer or something.
A couple of quid for the t-shirt.
Well, the t-shirt, I can't remember now. But yeah, although having said that, this will be the last couple of quid t-shirt that I buy.
Right.
I have been subscribing to various different blogs and reading a lot of stuff recently. And obviously I know about the impact of fashion on the environment, fast fashion in particular. And you hear all these stats about kind of the amount or the kind of the truth behind your kind of £5 t-shirts. But I've been following a blog called Good to Know?
Yeah.
I think it's called Good to Know. I'll link it below if I can find it. And basically I've learned so much from that I don't think my conscience will allow me to buy another £5 t-shirt. I don't think there'll be any trips to Primark in my future.
No.
I just feel like you get to a point where you know too much.
Yeah.
That you can't
unknow
you can't
it.
put your head in the sand anymore.
No.
And I kind of feel that way. And the same with fabrics as well. I'm not going to be buying cheap polyester fabrics that cost £5 a metre anymore because maybe they haven't. Maybe they're just, if it's dead stock, maybe that's a different situation.
Yeah, but that's still being produced somehow.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not saying this to lecture anybody or to make anybody feel guilty. Just for me personally and my journey on sustainable fabrics and sustainable fashion has now taken me to a point where I feel like I can't.
If you're interested in that, there's a blog post on our blog, which I wrote all about sustainable fabrics in the UK, and it's quite I think it's quite a good blog post that tells you about places to buy fabrics which are more sustainable, but also talks through how to decide what your level of sustainability is and what sustainability means to you. Does that mean organic? Does it mean it has to be produced in a proper factory? Does it mean it's dead stock? Does it mean it's upcycled? Does it mean what does it mean?
Because
and help you realise
ethical and environmental are two different things. Really. So sometimes it's more about the conditions of the people working in the factories, and sometimes it's more about the pollution that's being created from the amount of water is being used or the amount of dyes that are being used and that sort of thing. And they are very different issues.
But also wastage as well. It's just like, I think for me that's quite a big thing, because I think it's the natural quilter coming out in me. I want to use as much of the fabric as possible, because if I'm doing that, then I'm not buying more, I'm not throwing stuff away, I'm not adding to stockpiles of fabric which aren't being used. So buying dead stock, I think,
buying dead stock is a good thing, but also for instance, the two-tone Dawn jeans that I made at the start of lockdown, I absolutely love them, and they're made from 2 pairs of men's Levi's that I got from the charity shop. So I've always bought a lot of secondhand stuff, and I'm a big fan of the charity shops, but I think I will start looking to them more for my fabrics, and whether that's bed linens or whether it's actual clothes, I think. And there is a huge trend. We haven't got round to discussing our autumn-winter trend series, but we will be doing one, and they're all of the top designers are looking at sustainability, and there is such a huge trend for patchwork of any kind, so it's a great time. So it's not about going to the charity shop and trying to find a big oversized thing that you can resize to fit you. It's about just finding fabrics that you like and chopping them up and fitting them together.
I've always wanted a patchwork coat. Mostly like,
have you seen some of the leather trenches, the patchwork leather trenches?
Something like that is what I've always wanted. It doesn't, as long as it's not like who's it? His Technicolor dream coat.
Well, do you remember that one I sent you a while back? Chanel a couple of years ago had a whole series of patchwork stuff, but the kind of crazy patchwork that you do,
yes,
random bright colours. So it'd be like you took a quilt top, like your quilt vortex,
scrappy vortex,
and then decided to actually cut a coat from it rather than sew it into a quilt. So those kind of things I think are really interesting, and I would definitely want to play with more of that sort of thing.
Yeah, fantastic.
I've seen things like, I've got all these things that I'm pinning on Pinterest and stuff, like somebody made a really cool bag out of a leather jacket.
Oh, right, okay.
And I love the idea of those kind of things as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think a lot more of that. But the other thing that I learned recently is one of the most environmentally friendly fabrics. I don't know about ethical stuff, so I'm going to have to look into that further. But Tencel is one of the best fabrics you can use, and I love Tencel.
Yeah.
Because it's got that kind of weight of viscose, but it doesn't crease. Yeah. And it's got that lovely soft kind of sheen
nice
to
it.
Sew
with
it's lovely to sew with. So I'm all about the Tencel. I'm more than happy to be making more Tencel stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So on a kind of more sewing related, work related thing, we'll just leave you with kind of our thoughts on what's to come, because we've only really started thinking about it. So I've mentioned that we are planning on doing our autumn winter trends series.
Yes.
And it will probably just follow the same format as the spring summer ones.
But we might not go to the shops this year. I don't think we're quite ready for that. You can't try on clothes anyway at the moment. No. So I think we'll just do it by doing our research on the internet and things like that.
Yeah, but I also think that the main difference about the last one that we did for spring and summer was that we were taking our inspiration directly from the catwalks.
Yes.
And I think that's what's lovely to do as a sewer. You know, if you're going to be aspirational, you might as well go to the top level. Yeah. You know? I mean, obviously it doesn't mean to say that you can't recreate anything that you see someone on the street wearing, or something you see in a magazine,
or your own inspiration.
Exactly. But it is nice to get inspiration, for me anyway, from those more extreme examples. Yeah. Because you can tone it down slightly for everyday wear. Yeah. But my two-tone jeans that I already mentioned were inspired by all of the patchwork denim that Celine was putting out on the catwalk. But they're literally just two colours. It's not crazy patchwork. No. But I knew that I would wear them more if they were just big pieces. Yes. But so you interpret how you want.
Obviously, that's good. Yeah. So that's coming.
Yes, and we have decided on our next class, although we are researching that at the moment, so we're going to keep that under our hats. We are hopefully going to be able to start filming a new class soon. We would love to have a new class come out before the end of September, so that gives you an idea of time scales. We were also thinking, this has been a lovely long coffee and catch up where we've just been rambling on for ages, but we did wonder whether we should do this as a live thing. Yeah. We've never done a live.
We've never done a live. We keep talking about it. It comes up every now and again. But we thought we might even do two. So we have a big audience in America, and we've got a big audience in the UK and sort of Europe. So we thought we could do 2 different time zones. Yeah. So if you guys are interested in that and to kind of watch along live with us, just let us know roughly what time and what time zone you're in, and we'll try and figure out what's best to kind of do it that way.
Yeah, just comment below and give us some idea of kind of what time would be best for you. But maybe there's a time that we can find that kind of covers most bases.
Both,
so it might be evening for some and morning for others, but it's a reasonable hour rather than the middle of the night.
You can still watch them after they've come out live. So if you do miss it, you can still watch it like you would a normal YouTube video.
But we just thought, as a live, you can make yourself a cuppa or whatever, what you fancy, and
comment and things.
You get to ask us questions. So instead of us just rambling along about whatever pops into our heads, you can ask us things.
As interesting as that is.
Yes. So I think that's probably a good place to round things up, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So we hope you've enjoyed this particularly long, particularly waffly, unedited coffee and catch up.
Yep. We didn't swear. We didn't say anything inappropriate.
I don't think so. Let us know if we did. And the next video, we're not quite sure when that's going to be or what that's going to be, but we promise we won't leave it so long.
No, we will see you soon with our next video.
Bye.